Just because you get a lump sum today for 100,000, I've seen $200,000 come in, and by next week we're down to negative $10,000. And it's because there is no system, there's no cash flow that's put in place. Can we ask for our payment up front? Sometimes, we don't take a look at the contract and read and realize that there are some things that we can request up front for materials. It went from generating about $1 million a year to about 10 to $12 million.
Do we get in business to die with it?
Or to create another job for ourselves too. Like, we didn't get in business to just give ourselves another job, and this job we're actually working more. Sometimes you can't afford not to. So it's also changing their mindset and understanding there are certain things you're just going to have to make that investment on in order to do better in your business, in order to succeed.
This is the Commercial Builders Network, where trust is restored, power is reclaimed, and legacy is built. Let's get to work. Hello, beautiful people, and welcome to the Commercial Builders Network. My name is Tanisha Reed. I am your host, and we have a very special guest today, Merrewilned Nichols from Your Desired Advisors. She's going to drop some gems today, baby, and it's not only how you get the money, but how do you keep it? Stay tuned. Hello, Merrewilned. How are you doing today?
I'm doing fine. How about yourself?
I am awesome. It is a pleasure to have you. Can you please introduce yourself to our guests and tell us what are you known for?
Thank you for having me, first of all. And my name is Merrewilned Nichols. I am the owner of Your Desired Advisors. We are a CPA advisory firm, and we focus and specialize on business owners in the commercial space, so in the commercial construction industry.
Awesome. Awesome. That's exactly what we need here at the Commercial Builders Network. Someone who specializes in this niche that knows the ins and outs of what they go through on a day to day. Please tell me, how is it being a Black woman in this space?
So, being a Black woman in this space can be very intimidating at the beginning. When you're starting out, especially being here in South Florida, it's a minority here in South Florida. So, there's a large minority group here. However, there's not a lot of Black owned construction companies down here. So, it can be very intimidating. Plus, it's a male dominating industry as well. So you're coming in and you feel like maybe you don't belong in a sense, but at the same time, it's more about just putting in the practice and putting in the work. Just getting in those rooms and being okay with being uncomfortable, but just being confident in what you know. So once I was able to get out of that mindset and change my mindset and be confident in what I know and what I'm doing, and knowing that they need my expertise and that's why I'm here, puts you in a better perspective, and you realize that you are a leader in this field and in this space, instead of coming in and having everyone think otherwise.
Absolutely, absolutely. So what made you pick construction, commercial construction, it's to specifically focus on as your niche?
Okay, so I was put here, I wouldn't say by design in a sense, but basically in my career path, I actually ended up being a controller for a construction company for about 10 years. I started there just basically with a staff of like three, and we worked our way up to a staff of over like 50 employees, and it went from generating about $1 million a year to about 10 to $12 million. So just in that transition, being able to see how we started out from not having anything, not even being able to cover payroll at times,
Mm-hmm.
to figuring that out and finding out what works and what's not working. I want to be able to bring that expertise that I learned back to smaller businesses who are trying to do the same thing, especially in our space, because I feel like we're great at what we do. We know what we're doing, and sometimes the only thing that we're lacking is just having a proper structure or guidance and just lack of resources.
Absolutely. And for me, that's really big because this whole network that I'm building is really about helping us transition from one place to the next. Those who may be earning this low to mid six figures that want to become millionaires. Like, how do we get through that? Because sometimes we hit a wall that there's the
Mhm.
lack of information that's there that keeps us from stepping up to the next level. So the fact that you've experienced from the low millions, you ain't started six figures, you the low
Yeah.
millions. The mid-range
Yeah.
is really awesome. I love that. And then you spoke on structure. What's considered the proper structure, or how do you know what the proper structure is for your business in this space?
So the proper structure just depends on what you're trying to do. So there's different factors to that. So it's also determining, what type of business are you trying to have? What protection is needed within that business? Having an LLC, do you want to be an LLC? Do you want to be a corporation? And then understanding what your state involves as well. So when we sit down with a client, we try to figure out, exactly what's the best structure for them at that time, whether it's being a
Mhm.
corporation, an LLC, electing to be an S corp, or just being a single member. Also about protection. That's the one thing that we come into. So it's definitely trying to figure out what exactly they need. And what we have sometimes with clients is that they'll come in with a construction company. They also have property that's under that same construction company. And the first thing we say is we need to separate that out and remove that from the LLC so that those properties are protected as well as the business. So,
Mm, that's
so
good.
there's a lot of consulting and advising that goes along with it. So there's no right answer for one particular person, but it's just based on, all the factors that they have.
Awesome, awesome. So how does I guess your background shape how you show up for our minorities in this space? Because with accounting, a lot of times our numbers aren't always the best. We're trying to work the
Yeah.
system and work the numbers. So how is it in this space? And there's some advice that you can give working with us.
That's a great question. So, the first thing I do is I like to meet people where they are. I think that's where there's always a disconnect. And I think that's what deters a lot of professionals or construction owners from dealing with an accountant, a CPA, whatever, because majority of the time, once I get a client, it's usually because either they were uncomfortable with the previous CPA they had, they didn't understand something, maybe they felt like the other accountant made them feel like they didn't know anything or they felt embarrassed. So I try to, make sure that my clients are comfortable. That's the first thing. They have to trust you. If they don't trust you, you're not going to get all the information that you need. Because you have to be very transparent, especially with your accountant. I tell them the same way you talk to your attorney is the same way you need to speak to your CPA and your
I say
accountant.
I say the same exact thing when it comes to insurance.
Yes,
You can lie to everybody else. I can't protect you properly if you don't tell me what I'm working with.
exactly. And
We can figure out some things after I know everything, but let me tell you
exactly,
everything first.
exactly. Tell me so that I know, and then that way we can come up with a plan because, that plan that we came up with, if you didn't tell me anything or everything, we could throw that off. And, that's a totally different path. So I try to tell them, tell me what's going on. It doesn't matter. There's no judgment here.
Right.
We all are learning as we go. I still learn different things, to this day. So I tell them, you're not embarrassed by the things you don't know. It's the fact that you're able to tell that person, like, I'm not aware. I don't know if I'm doing this right. That's the way that we help each other, and that's how we grow. So once I can get them to open up and tell me what's going on, and then I sit down with them and actually just educate them and teach them what's going right in the business, what's going wrong in the business, without them feeling like they don't know what they're doing, or just trying to make sure that you have empathy and just understanding that we all don't, we're all good at what we know and that everything else we need help with. So once they understand that, I think that's the best thing that you can do is have that communication with your clients because that's usually what's lacking. And then
Mhm.
that's when things start to fall behind.
Absolutely. So what makes construction bookkeeping and accounting different than any other industry?
Okay, so there are a lot of things that make it different. I just say that with construction, it's under a microscope.
Mm,
So there are a lot of compliance that deals with being in construction. Making sure that majority of construction companies have subcontractors, on in their business. So it's making sure you have the proper paperwork for your subcontractors. There's plenty of audits that come into construction, whether it's your compliance audits or workers' comp. It can be your bank asking for an audit. So you want to make sure that you have your paperwork together. So it's making sure you have a system in place, an accounting system in place, and then making sure that you have like your job costing in order. So understanding like how much does each job cost? that you're working on, especially if you're working on multiple projects at the same time. You
Mm-hmm.
want to make sure that you can understand, did you make a profit on job one versus job three? So those are the things you want to look at when you're looking at like construction accounting. You got certified payroll that needs to be done if you're doing, specific contracts, or if you're dealing with your state or local government. At times they're asking for certain items that you need and reporting. So there are a lot of reporting requirements, especially when it deals with construction. So that's what makes it a little different when it comes to just your standard accounting.
So it's funny you go into reporting. My next question is, can you break down the basic financial reports that every construction business should have or that they should be reviewing monthly?
Okay, so for the most part, across the board, doesn't matter what industry you're in, you should be looking at your profit and loss statement. In construction specifically, you want to look at that. It pretty much, I would say, it's like your resume. It's the resume of your business, what you're doing, how much are you spending, and you want to make sure that it's right. So that's where everyone's saying like the bookkeeping comes into play, because you got to make sure the bookkeeping is right. Because what are we looking at? Is it even correct, or are we just putting these numbers together?
Yeah.
So you want to make sure items are classified the way they need to, so that when you're looking at that profit and loss, you're looking at something that has actually happened in the business. And then
Yeah.
how do you use that to make the decisions moving forward for the next month, for the next quarter, for the next year? So, that's an important piece. And then, taking a look at your balance sheet, understanding, how much do certain customers owe you? What's
Mm-hmm.
outstanding? And then who do you owe? What bills do you need to pay out? So those are the things that, your bank is going to take a look at. If you're looking for acquiring a line of credit or loans, like first thing they're looking at your balance sheet, your profit and loss. For construction, it's very good to have a profit and loss by job. So you can see how
Mm-hmm.
much each job actually generated. That way you could tailor, like, do I need to change the way we're doing things? Do we need to raise our hourly rates? Like, what's going on? But if you break it down by job, then you'll be able to see those numbers and kind of understand, what you're doing. And then, we call them aging reports. So aging reports is, your accounts receivable, which are all your customers, and understanding who owes you money. Why are we still doing work for a certain customer if they owe us a certain amount, or they
Mm-hmm.
haven't paid a certain bill? And then again, like your aging report for your payables, who do you owe? Do we need to? That's when we try to figure out, can we establish certain lines of credit? Can we establish like longer credit terms with some of these vendors? So those are the things you want to look at daily, not daily, but monthly, so that you could have that conversation, with your accountant, with your advisor, and with other people as well, just to kind of see what other people are doing in your industry too.
And it's interesting you said I had a client that I was assisting with getting a loan because when you go into these major projects, they pay you on the back end, so you still have
Mm-hmm.
to maintain these books during this time.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, let's see if we can go give you a loan for that in between, please, so that you can keep the cash flow inside the business.
Mm-hmm.
Could not provide the P&L statement. I
Yes.
was like, can we go figure out how to go open up a QuickBook?
Yes.
Let's figure this out
Yes.
together. And I was like,
Exactly.
and we had a situation where I sit there and ask questions, and it's like, oh well, how much? I had to negotiate him getting out of this project,
Mm-hmm.
but let's see what you can get out of it still because you didn't finish it. So let's see
Exactly.
what you can get. So how much did you pay everybody? He lied to me. It's like, I
Or
need to
yeah.
then we can at least make sure you can't negotiate unless you know what you owe first. We don't
Exactly.
know what you owe until we go through these numbers. Stop finagling the numbers. All
And the
right.
key thing
You
everyone says, I'll just go into my bank statement and see. And it's like, that's not how we
not
look at a financial report. It's not through our
right.
bank statement.
Yeah. And the lender don't want to see that. They
Mm-mm,
don't want to see
uh-uh.
that you got a cash in it. That's nice.
Yep,
But is that money gonna be there tomorrow? Because that might not be
exactly.
there tomorrow. All right, so what are the top three mistakes you see in construction business owners when it comes to their finances?
Top three mistakes for majority, I would say about 80 to 90% of construction companies that I have dealt with personally. Number one is cash flow. Cash
Mm-hmm.
flow is always an issue. And it's because they don't understand the cash flow of the business. So, just because you get a lump sum today for 100,000, I've seen $200,000 come in, and by next week we're down to negative $10,000. And it's because there is no system, there's no cash flow that's put in place. So it's understanding, like, when that cash flow comes in, what's the planning that's involved with it? What are the projections? When are we expected to get more? How do we lay out how we're going to pay out, our
Hmm.
certain bills for the next 10 weeks, 6 weeks until we're expected to get more? It's doing a lot of estimations, understanding how much you need to pay your contractors, payroll. So you're taking all of this, putting it in, understanding how much that cash is. How long can we sustain this cash? And if we don't, what is our backup plan too? So, do we have a line of credit available? Is there anything that we can pull from, so that we can make sure that we're covering our costs until the next one comes in? Or can we ask for an advance on the second job? Is it even possible to do that? Can we ask for our payment up front? Sometimes, we don't take a look at the contracts and read and realize that there are some things that we can request up front for materials, for
Hmm.
extra items. So it's making sure that they understand that, so that you're not putting yourself in a bind, but planning for it, because in construction, things can always go left. So
Yeah.
there hasn't been a client that hasn't been in a cash issue or a cash crunch, but it's understanding, what do we do if that happens?
And
So
and and I'm gonna cut in real quick when you
that's
say
okay.
being able to ask for that money in the contract ahead of time. A lot of times they're so excited to get a contract that
Yeah.
they'll take anything.
Yep.
So being able to assess that, that's really big. That's a nugget right there. Make
Yep.
sure you can read through that contract and understand the power that you actually have inside of that as well.
Exactly. And estimating for the cost, knowing that, we need at least 30% up front to get these costs. Or sometimes, there's another caveat that they can add. And one of the requirements of actually getting certain contracts is to make sure that you have available credit ready, because they're not going to pay you. So
Hmm.
making sure that there is a line of credit available that you have, or an open line that you have with a certain vendor, so that you can get these materials before they make their first payout. So
Yeah.
it's making sure you understand what's in your contract, what are you reading, what are the requirements, and even understanding the government. If you're dealing with government contracts, they have certain items in there where they actually get dinged if they don't pay you on time. So it's
Hmm.
making sure you understand that, so that you can utilize that against you. You don't want to go there, but if you
Yeah.
have to, at least you have that leverage.
Absolutely.
So,
Absolutely. All right, two
mhm.
more. You got two more.
All right.
No, the two more
Oh,
of the
my two more
mistakes.
mistakes.
You only
Okay,
did
so
cash
we
flow.
only did cash flow. Oh wow. Okay, so all that was cash flow. So the second one I would say is business and personal, the commingling.
Mm,
That is huge. I've seen it even with large companies and small companies. It's making sure that you're not doing that, or at least making sure to the best of your ability that you are not commingling those funds. We say don't do it at all. And it's hard, and I can understand, because you do have a little bit of empathy with people when they're doing it, because I'm a single owner. I'm running everything on my own. I don't have cash here. I use my personal credit card to take care, or to buy materials, or to get certain things for the job. But then I'm turning around and using that credit card for personal items as well. So you don't want to do that. You want to make sure that you can find a way where you put a system into place. So if that ever happens, maybe we run an extra payroll through the business to pay you, so you can go ahead and cover those costs, or finding out reimbursements that are put into place. So it's like making sure they're not mixing the two, the business and personal.
hmm.
It's a
I
lot.
got a question.
Yes.
Okay, so you pay with your credit card, your personal credit card, right? If
Hmm.
I pay that the amount that was used for the business from the business account to pay off the credit card, does that work?
So wait, say that again. Repeat it for me.
I purchased some stuff for the
Hmm.
business with my personal credit card. You know, you get all the good points and stuff right there.
Hmm.
Maybe you haven't established enough business credit to get a good decent amount on your business credit.
Hmm.
So I use the funds from my business account to pay off the credit card for the things that I use for the business. Can you do that?
You just have to document it. So you
Okay.
need to make sure that you're documenting it and doing it the proper way. So maybe say it's for 2 months that you have a specific job that you're working on, and you have the credit on your personal side. You want to set up memos, accountable plans, things that can basically document why you utilize that credit, the credit that you have on the personal side to take care of those expenses. And then go ahead and pay that from your business account.
Okay.
Don't, transfer the funds into your personal account and then make the payment. Pay it directly from the business and account
Yeah.
for all of that. Keep the
Mm-hmm.
receipts, keep your documentation. That's the key, and that's where we fall short, because people say, well, it's on my statement. It doesn't mean anything if it's on your statement. They
Yeah.
actually want to see a copy, the backup, the receipt. What was the purpose of it? Like, that's
Mm-hmm.
what makes it, a legitimate expense in their eyes, and for yourself too. So, you want to be able to do that. And a lot of people do that in the very beginning, um, until they can establish some credit. But once you get your business set up, if your credit is at least decent, you should be able to go ahead and get, a business credit card. And so that you're able to use it for that. And then at the time, as you start to progress and pay it off, you can ask for an increase, for certain items as well.
Awesome. Awesome.
Yes.
Okay. If a client, oh no, I'm sorry. We still number three.
What was number three? I'm trying to think of top three. Systems. Not
So
investing.
that was
Not
the next
investing.
question.
Ah, not investing in their business. And when I say that, I mean not investing in the proper systems and the people. That are the top three mistakes. A lot of times I do have a lot of clients that they've acquired this business maybe from their father, an uncle. And they're picking up the pieces and trying to get the business rolling. But then they picked up some of the same habits that they were doing, which is keeping things on paper and, finding their own system in their head, but we don't have it on paper. So it's teaching them, like, okay, now we need to learn how to utilize technology that we have so
Mm-hmm.
that you can run efficient. Like, you're trying to scale, you're trying to be efficient in what you're doing. So you're not spending all this time running around. And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes they're like, well, I don't have the money to do that, or we don't have the funds to take care of that or make that investment. Sometimes you can't afford not to. So it's also changing their mindset and understanding there are certain things you're just going to have to make that investment on in order to do better in your business, in order to succeed.
Are there any systems that you would recommend for these small businesses?
So the systems up first thing is have an accounting system. All of my clients are on QuickBooks, QuickBooks Online. I have clients, like I said, that generate $200,000-300,000 a year to $10-12 million a year, and everyone is utilizing QuickBooks.
Okay.
The only thing is that in conjunction with that, I always recommend having like a CRM system in place. So that's your customer relationship management software. So it just
Mm-hmm.
depends on your industry what CRM software works best. And majority, because of how QuickBooks is, like, you can find a system, a CRM that integrates with QuickBooks for the most part.
Okay.
So, having a Builder Trend, a Procore. We also have like SoftPack, Job Trend, Job Nimbus. There's so many ones. It just depends on which industry you're in, specifically in construction. You could find a CRM software that's cloud based, so you could have all your proposals in there, your work orders generated, the pictures that you're taking for compliance that you need. Um, just anything that you need in there, that you have a system that's cloud based, so anyone can have access to it too. And then you can utilize that and integrate it with QuickBooks so that you could generate the right reports. Because QuickBooks doesn't necessarily break everything down by job for you, how we would like. But sometimes we could supplement that with whatever CRM software you're using, and have one
Oh,
for our
okay.
clients. Yeah.
Nice, nice, nice.
Yeah.
If a business owner wanted to bring a partner or plan for succession, which is my background,
Yeah.
but their personal and business finances were completely mixed together, where would you start with them?
All right. So the first thing that I would do is basically we have to figure out what is actually business and what is personal. How does the business stand alone? Because if there's any partner that is coming into this business, whether you're merging, someone else is coming in, they're going to do what they call a due diligence. And that is what anyone in business is going to do. And that due diligence is basically to check on the health of your business. So they want to see, if you told me that that your company is profitable, you have to prove that to me and show me that your company is profitable. How do they see that? They can't just go with you one day and say, "Oh, I see you have a lot of work, you're busy," but what does
Mm-hmm.
that actually generate on paper? So it's
Mm-hmm.
understanding, okay, what's on your profit and loss? How much money do you actually owe? how much money is outstanding for you? Are you actually keeping up with your bills? And are you keeping up with your customers that owe you money?
Mm-hmm.
So it's understanding all those aspects, and that's what they're looking at. Do you have recurring revenue? Meaning, do you have customers that are recurring that keep coming in? Do you have new customers that come in depending on the industry that you have? Is there a certain season that fluctuates for you where there aren't any customers coming in? So those are the things that they're looking at when they're doing that due diligence to understand, like, how healthy is this business and what am I putting myself into by getting into this business? So
Right.
they want, they're not just going to go off of your word. They actually have to see it on paper. So we want to make sure that we're showing, how that business stands alone. And also, does this business operate specifically on you? Because if it does, that's a problem. And they want to make sure. So God forbid something happens to you. What happens to this business? What happens to my investment? So,
Absolutely.
those are the main things that they're looking for. And you need to make sure that as good as your company looks on the outside, that it looks just as good on paper.
Yes,
So,
absolutely. Because that's definitely something that my focus was in the business is seeing how can your business run without you? Can you step away from your
mhm,
business? Do you have the system in place? Does it rely on your name? Yeah, it can be your name, but do you have to be there in order for it to work?
exactly.
And when you step
Exactly.
away, does it keep running or does it fall completely apart? Because some people don't know what their exit strategy is going to
Yes.
be, and it can happen a little sooner than you expect. If you decide that you want to retire early, and a lot of these people are dying in their business,
Yes.
and I'm trying to say, okay, well, do we get in business to die with it? Like,
Or to create another job for ourselves too.
exactly, exactly.
Like, we didn't get in business to just give ourselves another job. And this job, we're actually working more for than
Absolutely.
the 9 to 5.
Sometimes I sit there and I wonder, man, if I just had a 9 to 5, life would be a lot.
Life would be a lot
Work home,
easier.
the work stay at work. Let the
Yep.
work stay at work. But no, there is
Exactly.
always something to do. So my mindset is if we're going to create something, have it be something that's sustainable
Hmm.
without you. So eventually you can step away and actually take the fruits of your labor.
Yes.
Because what is it for?
That's why. And
Even in the case of your children and wanting to pass it down, like you said, sometimes they're passing down a mess
yeah.
and system ain't in place.
And do they
So,
even want it?
and do they even want it? That's
That's,
huge.
yeah.
So
That's
sometimes the option is maybe there's a key person inside of your business that can keep it running and keep it
exactly.
going without you because they actually have an investment in love and passion for it.
Mhm.
But please get your books together so they don't
Yes.
come into a mess.
And set up your SOPs. I tell them, especially now
Absolutely.
with technology and everything that we
Mhm.
have, it is very easy to set up your SOPs, and it's not as
Yeah.
difficult as you thinking that you got to sit down and write down every process and procedure. Utilize what you have. We are all visual learners, and I
Yeah.
tell them utilize everything that you have right now to teach people what you're doing and how to do it, because
Yeah.
we never know what will happen tomorrow. So,
Absolutely. I always kill people yesterday since it already
yeah.
passed. If yesterday you didn't come home, where would your business be right now? Would it instantly
Yes.
dissolve? And I had a lady, had reached, and this what made me actually get back into this field,
Hmm.
into the succession planning, is called me and asked about a bond. And most people don't even realize that there's a
Yeah.
bond for, what is it called? Why can't I get up the word for probate, a probate
Hmm.
bond.
Oh, okay.
Your credit has to be good for it. And unfortunately, her husband had a business that she didn't have any access to, any of the books or anything. And I'm like, what are your options? She's either
Hmm.
going to sell it or she's going to have to dissolve it. But if the books aren't in place, it's you're just gonna
Yeah.
have to dissolve it. There's nothing to do. You can't sell it if there's nothing in play. And then she couldn't even control the aspect because her credit wasn't good. So now
Hmm.
somebody else has to decide, which means everything goes on pause and stops
Exactly.
instantly. Instantly. And people still want to get paid if you have people working for you. They don't
Oh
want to
yeah,
hear
absolutely. And that's what I
not
tell
not
people,
coming tomorrow.
you want to make sure you have everything together or to the best of your ability, because there's always a time when you're going to need it. Because right now it's out of sight, out of mind. Oh, I don't need a report
Mhm.
right now. I don't need to take a look at it. I'll focus on that later. That's
Later.
usually what you hear. I'll focus on it later. Then later becomes now. And then you want someone to finish it or complete something for you within a certain time frame. And
Yeah.
then you don't want to pay for it because
Mhm.
now it's going to cost more to get that done in a short amount of time.
So it's
So
funny you say that. My next question. If a client came to you after getting hit with an audit or a
uh
fine due to bad bookkeeping, how would you help them clean up their records and stay compliant?
Well, first thing we do is we just clean up the books and see what they have. The second thing is one, take a look at that report. The audit report will usually tell us specifically what you were fined for. What did what points were taken off? Why did they consider you a risk? We kind of use that as a guide. So if we have that as a guide, then we can understand what procedures do we need to put in place, what policies do we need to put in place, how do we reflect this on your books, on your numbers. So once we have that, we can use that first as our guide. Go through and clean up your books. And then also by that time, you're discovering there are other things that need to be cleaned up, other things that we need to fix or adjust. And we're doing that at the same time. And then it's asking questions. So being accessible, I always tell my clients that you have to be accessible. Like I have to be able to speak to you and ask you questions. You have to make the time. And, I have to make the time as well for you to communicate and contact me and ask the questions that you need. But, that's definitely the first step.
You keep leading to my next question. You're really good at this.
Oh.
You're really good at this. If somebody's looking for a CPA, what's considered a healthy relationship with their CPA? How often should you guys communicate?
Okay, so whenever there's a decision that you are trying to make in the business, we should know before the fact, not after.
Okay.
And majority of the times, that's usually what happens is that you're going through your client's books and you're saying, hey, what is this $50,000 purchase here? What is this? Oh, I got another loan. I did this or I did that. And you're like, no, we didn't talk about this. We didn't understand the strategy. We didn't figure out how this is going to affect your taxes. What are the implications? Like, we need to discuss these things before you decide to just make a purchase or decide what you're going to do. So I tell them that, communication is definitely a two-way street.
Mm-hmm.
Because I've also had to be very honest with a few of my clients as well when it comes to that, because their assumption is, well, I left my last CPA because they never, we never communicated. And
Mm-hmm.
first question is, well, how much did you pay that CPA? I paid them $1,500 for a tax return or $2,000. Well, then that's why you didn't hear from them because you only paid them for a one-time service.
Nervous, yeah.
And so it's like you have to make sure that you understand what are you getting yourself into and be very clear as to what does this relationship look like. Is this a one time a year type of relationship where in
Mhm.
December I'm contacting and letting you know to get everything ready for January
Right.
and
Mm-hmm.
then we're done after March? Or
Mm-hmm.
or are we having this, or are we building a relationship where we're talking to each other either monthly, quarterly, you know um 2 to 3 times a year? Just depends on the set of the business. But there needs to be open communication on both ends. And I try to make sure that I'm very clear with that, especially when it comes to my clients, because that's what's lacking. I say that is the biggest complaint that I receive when I'm acquiring a new client, or another client is inquiring about coming or utilizing our services, is communication, not being able to communicate with their other CPA or accountant.
So is it like if you're on a retainer, like an attorney, or how does that work?
Well, it's not really like attorney. It's more of like, I would say a majority of us are now on a subscription base, I would say.
Okay.
So it's a subscription base where you're able to utilize, your CPA accountant to what you need. And that all comes with that initial meeting. How often do we need to communicate? What are you bringing in? What are your projected revenues? Where are you trying to go in your business? That's the first thing we ask, is like the mindset. So what's your 5-year plan? Like, are you looking to purchase real estate? Are you looking to, merge with another company? Do you want to sell this business? What is your exit plan? So once we
Mm-hmm.
understand what you're trying to do for the next 5 years, and that will change obviously, but at least understanding where your mindset is,
Yeah.
that helps us kind of figure out, okay, what do we need to be doing with you when we're working with your numbers and your books? That's how we're able to help you.
Perfect. Perfect. And what's one thing that sets you apart from other CPAs working in construction?
I would say I just meeting my clients where they are. Again, just making sure that they feel comfortable working with me and understanding like what we're doing, being very transparent. Because I'll tell my clients constantly, like, If it takes you 2 weeks to get back to me, you need to expect that it may take us a few weeks to give you what you need. Because if we've been asking for items for a certain time frame and we're not getting them back, there's no way we can help you, on the drop of a dime. Like, we're
Right.
a service-based firm and we have multiple clients that we're working with, but we want to make sure that we give you the time that you need. But I tell them up front, it's all about communication, like communication and education for me. Especially in our space, I feel that sometimes I hear a lot, well, I just let my accountant deal with it. And I'm like, I don't think that's what you should be doing. Like, it's fine that, yes, your accountant handles everything for you, but at the same time, you need to have an understanding of what's going on because it is your business at the end of the day. So I try to make
Absolutely.
sure that my clients are educated in what's going on and what they're doing and what they need. So it's like a little bit of coaching, but just like
Hmm.
on a very high level. You are a business owner, make sure you're looking at these items here, when you're looking at your reports, because you need to know this for yourself.
Awesome, awesome.
Uh-huh.
How can our audience connect with you if they're serious?
Yeah.
I'm serious. Don't come here wasting this lady's time. She know her stuff. If they're serious about getting their books together and building their future to the next level, how do they connect with you?
So they can reach with me. I'm on all social media platforms as Your Desired Advisors. Also, you could check out our website. It's www.desiredadvisors.com. And also, you can go ahead and just email us at info@desiredcpas.com. And there's someone who will reach out to you if you want to just schedule a 15-minute consultation. We're here.
Awesome, awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time, Marilyn. You have
Thank
dropped
you.
some good gems. Good. It is much appreciated. Until next
Thank
time.
you. All right. Enjoy.
Thank you so much for watching the Commercial Builders Network today. Be sure to like, subscribe, and share. Share with those who are in the commercial construction and commercial real estate space. We want to see you all elevate. Let's build something great together.